Here we are. Hi, everyone. I'm Carol Gable, your host of Women in Business, where every week I have the opportunity to introduce you, yes, to a woman in business. But not only is she a woman in business, but she is definitely making a difference in others' lives. She is not, however, climbing ladders, crashing ceilings, but she is smashing her own barriers to her own success and inspiring others to do so. And today you are in for a real treat. My guest is Gina Marie Mattei, and she is the founder and CEO of Revelation Creative. So welcome, Gina Marie.
Thank you so much, Carol.
So nice to have you with me.
It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so excited. I love showing off awesome women.
Thank you.
And you are definitely awesome. So we'll get more into Revelation Creative and what you're doing now, but I'd like to go back, in time and talk a bit about Gina Marie. And I'm sure when you were a little girl, you might have had an inclination that you wanted to be something big, but maybe not as defined as you are now. And let's talk a little bit about influences, right? And you and I have had the opportunity to talk about someone really special in your life, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that special person is my mother.
And your mom's name?
My mom is Nancy Mattei.
Nancy Mattei.
Yes. She was and still is a wonderful mother and a guiding force in my life. My mom was the epitome of success, prestige, grace, beauty, all wrapped into one. And she taught me from a very early age that there were no such thing as barriers except the ones that you impose upon yourself. My mom was an executive at Procter & Gamble. She has a degree in a very nuanced form of biology, a master's degree in that. She was also a pageant queen. So she really did have all of those facets that allow for the perception of someone who has everything handed to them. But what I know about my mom, having had the pleasure of growing up with her in my home, she put it all together herself. My mom was a self-made woman from the time she was very young. And even to this day, she continues to reinvent who she is as a professional, as a friend, as a mentor. She's someone who never lets time or age stop her from achieving against whatever it is that she's looking to make her next horizon.
What a great influence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in addition to your mom, who else as you were going along? So I think she was a major influence because you ended up also going into a more science related field. So talk a little bit about your journey through your school and influences there that have really set the stage for who you are today.
Yes. So from the time I was very young, my father was also a very influential player in my life. And my dad is somebody who is very civically minded. When most kids were going on their family vacations for the holidays or for the summer, my dad had a whole plan of how we were going to better engage with our community. So from the time I was about 8 years old, we got hooked up with an adult daycare center in our community where my dad would take me in, gave me all of the orientation that was necessary to onboard me as a volunteer, the same as he had done. And I spent time with the aging members of our community that ranged in health from very vital, active, social to wheelchair or bedbound. So I got to see a full spectrum of what it was like to age and be very much cognizant of what those effects, the choices that you make as a younger person then affect how your older life becomes. So being that my dad is very much a caring person, he wanted to imbue in me the same type of ideals, the giving back to those who may not have anyone, The idea that if you treat someone well, that alone is the reward. The smile that you give someone just by making them laugh or holding their hand. So those summer breaks, those vacation times that I spent with my dad, there were some great bonding experiences for the two of us. But it also showed me that, wow, this is such an intriguing, interesting world, that there can be such variety in how people who may have similar lifestyles, how they actually manifest those lifestyle decisions in their older age. So that got me thinking from a very, very young life of, well, how do I understand this better? How do I study it? How can I be able to help people so that there is a better quality of life for them, so that everyone can really have that vitality in their golden years? So as I progressed through high school and made my decisions about where I wanted to go to school for college, I went to Duke University and I studied cognitive psychology there, and specifically cognitive aging. So it was in that pursuit that I learned about what the quality factors were from, we call them psychosocial perspectives, you know, the choices of your environment coupled with your genes that would allow you to then make some correlations about what happens to you as you age. So taking that experience in long-term care facilities and my love for geriatry, the study of aging, and really being able to put into a research setting some of the hypotheses that I was hoping to then build a study around to help with moving the needle for people as they age. So taking that foundation in science, specifically the social form of science, and in research, I went into graduate school at University of Virginia. And it was there that I realized I absolutely loved studying cognitive aging. However, my personality just could not fit into the box of researcher. I was spending 90 hours in a lab with my data to keep me warm at night, and it wasn't lighting the world on fire for me. So I made a big pivot, a big change there. And with the support of my parents, I decided I was going to leave my pursuit to become a PhD in psychology and enter into the world of business. Having seen my mom do it herself and be a woman in charge of hundreds of men at a time when that was uncommon at Procter & Gamble, you know, I knew what it took, the grit, the determination, the savvy, the subtle nuances of it to really become a successful businesswoman. And I wanted to bridge those worlds, the science and the business. And that's when I left my graduate program and then went into the world of pharmaceuticals in the branding and marketing teams. And that's where I got to experience what it was like to work in a corporate environment, creativity within the bounds of corporate, and hone the skill set that got me to where I am today with the tools and social resources from a relationship standpoint, from a networking standpoint, that I was able to formulate my vision for the company and then take it from mere idea and put it into place and become what we are today.
It's fascinating because you really took it from the lab to the road.
Yep.
Right?
And if
I love that.
Yes, yes. And that's what we're taught to do as researchers. Take what we understand, what we know, and then apply it outside of the confines of what we've been taught. So I did leave academia behind. However, you know, there's still a social scientist in me to this day. I love to experiment with different types of marketing campaigns, but do so in a way that, you know, we're strategic about it. We measure, we adjust, we craft campaigns that really are driven against objectives, and it's all scientific based because of where my footing is. And I'm lucky to say that I have a team assembled around me who they are very similarly wired to me.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I have so many guests that come on, very, as I always start, awesome women that are very common. There's like a golden thread I could weave, you know, into each one of them. And you mentioned grit, and you mentioned measurement, and also being able to listen to those in authority or those that you admire, to be able to learn from them and grow. And then I kind of use the mountain as like an example, right? So as you're going up the mountain, you're collecting all these resources. So you collected, you know, your scientific research and those 90 hours in the, you know, that were keeping you warm at night. As you're going up the mountain, you get to the top and you've got a different perspective, you know, which was your realization, your epiphany, if you will. I don't belong in a lab. I need to get out of here, but take the research with you. So as you're on the top of the mountain and you're going down the mountain, it's as if you're taking those resources and throwing them to those that really need those, right? So unfortunately, we have to take a little break. But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about how you collected all of your, you know, wisdom, your energy, everything that you have. You're at the top of the mountain, and now you're able to really use everything that you have, and where you are today, and where you're heading for tomorrow. So we'll be back. Don't go away. You don't want to miss this part. It's the best part.
Those monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write, the ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, with my guest today, Gina Marie Mattei. And Gina, welcome back.
Thank you,
Marie.
Carol.
So at the break, we were talking a little bit about this imaginary mountain,
Yes.
if you will, right? And, you know, you collected all of these resources and sort of set the foundation for the woman that you are today, you know, which is really incredible. But one thing that I think would be fascinating to the audience is to hear that you're a second-degree black belt, right?
I am, yes. And at one point, I was the youngest second-degree black belt in New Jersey, female, that is.
Say that again.
I was the youngest female second-degree black belt in New Jersey. But I'm happy to say that there were many younger females who got into the sport after I did and who dethroned me from that title.
All right.
Yes.
Sometimes
happy
it's
to
good
lose that crown.
Yeah. Sometimes that's great. So, in addition to that, you've got a lot of your dad in you. You are very active with your alma mater.
Yes. I do a lot of work with the university, or Duke University, to interview incoming candidates for admission. It helps me keep a finger on the pulse of what is going on with the youth in America. And time again, I am blown away by the intelligence, the savvy, the maturity of these kids. They're 18, yes, they're adults, but wow, you know, sometimes you watch the news and things can look so bleak.
Right.
But let me tell you, from speaking with these people, these young men and women, they are heralding in a future for us that is so bright.
Yeah, I have many nieces and nephews, and I was at lunch with my daughter, her boyfriend, and my 2 nephews. And at that table, there were 3 doctors and one that is going for his PhD. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this table is just so awesome. And I thought the same thing. You know, you read press about, you know, younger individuals just, you know, not maybe going on that same path. But I see what you see. You know, I see it very differently.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go back to the mountain, right?
Yes.
So we're on the top, and now you're coming down, not to suggest that you're coming down the mountain at the end of your life.
I'm sending the elevator back down.
There you go. My kind of girl. I love this. So you want to pick up some things that you've gathered from the other side of the mountain and implement it into your business where you are right now. So the mountain and being at the top is really, the top is where you are right now. And then, you know, the descending part of the mountain is what you're looking into the future and why that will happen based on what you did on the other side. So you're at the top of the mountain now, and you're doing some pretty amazing things. You're working with lots of very interesting people. So you started Revelation Creative.
Yes.
So tell me about the name, and how did you come up with the name? You're a marketing guru, so
Sure. So the name is something I labored over personally for quite some time, largely in part because it was an extension of me. Revelation Creative is my baby, and I love her dearly. The idea of my transformation, having worked in the pharmaceutical world and taking all of that knowledge from working on the brand teams and in medical communications, and then applying it into something that was my own. You know, I knew that I wanted to create my own business. I wasn't sure what exactly it was that I was going to do for my own business. But, you know, any good writer is supposed to write what they know, right? So any good marketer should market what they know. The skill set that I picked up along that way, there was no reason for me to abandon it in total. I was just gonna repurpose it, make it my own, and understand that I was moving from a Fortune 500 environment where I then wanted to be able to take those tips, tricks, and tools that I learned along the way and apply them to the small business and middle market, where for me, the personal reward is being able to see how much my insight can then move the needle for those businesses to get them their success. And above any kind of financial gain, watching a business thrive is the most reward I could ever ask for. And then having my team feel rewarded by the work that they do, that's aces across the board as far as I'm concerned.
So talk more about your team and about what you're doing, and when did you start?
So we've been in business since 2017. So we are in our baby years. We're outside of our
Your
terrible
toddler, a
twos.
little bit, yeah.
They were terrific twos. That's how we refer to them. The team that I have assembled are people that I have gotten the privilege of knowing and working with over years of being in industry and having had different agency partners. My talent from pharma, I realized, was very much this one central part that has been the mainstay of why I am successful in business today, and that is being able to understand what business objectives are, you know, from a bottom line standpoint, from the brand team perspective, but then being able to liaise with a creative force, all of the people who build those ideas, but are not wired the same as the business ends. You know, you have your MBAs on one side and then your creative geniuses on the other, and sometimes that language is just very different. So to be able to have those two forces join together and operationalize around the same objectives, that was a talent that I unearthed in myself, that it was brought to my attention by some of the people who are my business heads that I reported to. You know, your creatives love working for you. Why? Well, I understand what their intrinsic motivators are, and it's not always money.
Right.
And being able to assign project work that they love, and that's one of the reasons why my team, they gave me the kick in the butt to get out the door and open Revelation Creative, and that's why they're sticking with me now, because they love the work that we do. They love that we are so customer focused, and customer service is absolutely what keeps any great business in business. As long as you can provide that and the services to go along with it, it's going to lead to the success of your client and the success of your team.
Yeah, and I love your background that you look at it from a strategic perspective, developing strategic relationships, and then, working your magic around, that and incorporating, infusing your team. It's a very dynamic approach. And talk a little bit about some of the services that you provide.
Yes.
I mean, that's really important, right?
So we provide really a full service to any of our client partners, and we do call them partners because we are hand in hand working with them to get to their success. And our approach is very much collaborative. So we will do the research that needs to be done to understand what the competitive landscape looks like in their space, what the competition is out there doing currently that they might want to emulate, adjust, tweak. Not the wheel doesn't have to be reinvented every time, but you can put your own twist on it to get to your own level of success and achieve against your objectives. So we analyze, we measure what else is going on in market, bring those insights to the table, and then formulate omni-channel marketing campaigns that are very much cash flow sensitive, triaged. You put your primary driver first, the one that the campaign that's going to get you the greatest amount of revenue injection for the smallest spend first. And then we come back to the table, revisit, just like a stock portfolio. Are you going to pull out your dividends once you receive those quarterly? Are you going to reinvest them? Depends on what kind of person you are.
Right.
However, we always recommend for the success of a business, and in order for it to thrive, reinvest that. And it's the same with marketing. So the services that we provide, we're predominantly a digital marketing agency, and that is very much us responding to the way the world works. We all have very strong backgrounds in print, and print is not dead. Many people will say that it is, but it's continuing to reshape itself and reinvent itself, especially with the number of recyclable and reusable products out there that make printing on different substrates environmental friendly. So our core capabilities are design, all things digital from SEO on and off page, social media campaigns, content building, email marketing, integrating with customer relationship management tools for our friends and family in the world of consumer packaged goods. We also integrate with ERP systems, warehousing, logistics, all
Big right now.
Yes, and our e-commerce clients are some of our best, and they have to have their fingers on the pulse of what is going on in market, which means we have to be able to respond very quickly, giving them the insights that they need to effectively service their customers, getting their brand awareness out there through a number of digital components, and then being able to bolster that with all things print, whether it's a mail campaign, brochure, trade show display, pop-ups, in-store displays. We cover the gamut. If you can visualize it, then we can create it. And we take your concepts and move them into the visual spectrum.
Yeah, so I love the portfolio analogy because it isn't a one size fits all, and every business has its own little set of challenges or wants and needs. And, for one that may be heavy on social media, the other may not be as much. And, that's your job is to weigh it, measure it, and come up with a solution for your partner that makes sense for them, that's going to really give them the return that they're looking for, and make them thrive. So I love the whole concept. So you're headquartered in Asbury Park, which I love. I love Asbury Park.
I
think
do
it's just amazing. But you've got clients all over the country, right?
Yes, we're predominantly New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania based with our client pool, but that doesn't mean that because we live in the cloud, my team and I, being that we're all things digital, we service clients across the U.S., My team, though the majority of our core team is located in New Jersey. We have our freelance network that is throughout the U.S. We have overseas partners. And what that does is a few things. One, it allows us to really source talent from anywhere. So you're not geographically restricted by who's in my town and who can do this sort of job.
Right.
It's a benefit to our clients because then they get the right creative fit. And then on top of that, because we do not have a standard brick and mortar office, there's a significant amount of cost savings that we are able to achieve that then gets passed on to our clients in their pricing. So
Fabulous.
Had a lot of thought go into that model.
Well, researcher, science, right? Analyses. I love it. I'm very scientific myself, and it's really a sign of genius when you have creative and, you know, the science, the right and left hemispheres matching one another. So it's great genius. And I think we need to mention Dad and his social efforts. That, you know, we need to bring your dad. What's your dad's name?
My dad's name, he's an Anthony, but Tony from Staten Island.
Oh, it's got to be Tony. Come on.
Absolutely.
So Tony has a big heart. Tell us a little bit about
very big heart.
How it impacted you, and bring up CASA and some other things that you recently did.
So when I opened up Revelation Creative, I realized that the key to any business's success, it really comes down to three things, especially in this, when you're starting up, and it's networking, education, and charity. And it's that charity part that my dad's influence really played the biggest role. So having spent so much of my time in my youth volunteering, that was the one part that I was really missing as a business owner. So I made a commitment once I opened Revelation Creative that though I might not be able to give the amount of time to the community that I had once been able to do, that I was going to pay it back in spades with money. So that's where I decided from a very early stage of the company that we were going to have a civic mindedness about us that would allow us to really help those that needed it in our community. So I created an event called Business Back to School, where it bridges those three pillars, education, networking, and charity, where we put together small business owners straight through to middle market executives so that they can collaborate with each other in a really fun setting. That's one of the things Revelation Creative does very well, make a really fun experience for anyone who comes to our events. So we bring those people together so that they have an open dialogue, can learn from each other. We provide education from people in adjacent fields like banking, lending, accounting, trademarking, so that questions that you might be afraid to ask as a business owner, you get those answered.
Right.
And then with the charity component, we have CASA, who was our charitable partner this year, the court-appointed special advocates for children that are facing issues like neglect, abuse, and abandonment.
And how much did you raise from? We have to wrap up.
Oh, sure. We raised over $5,000 this year.
That's
We're
tremendous.
very happy to have done that for them.
I want to mention, too, that women owned, certified.
Yes, we are a WeBank certified company, very proudly, woman-owned.
It's a big deal.
Yes, yes it is.
So I want everyone out there to know where to find your awesome self.
Yes, you can find Revelation Creative and me, Gina Marie Mattei, at www.revelationcreative.com.
Phone number?
Oh, phone number, 908-448-6244.
Thank you so much for being with me. Wonderful, wonderful guest. You're doing such great work.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and call her. She's
Please
awesome. And she can make your business thrive, grow, blossom. And thank you all for being with me every week here on Women in Business, every Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.